but we're going to get into this Crowder nonsense and see if we should take the this way. I can't move my thumb reverse. If we should take the Crowder mug down or not. Do we support Crowder or do we not? That is the question we're going to try to figure out today. That is the question we're going to try to figure out today. So where I wanted to start was Dave Landau went on Michael Malice's podcast. He did an interview over there. There's a couple clips from it. I got the whole thing. I don't think you guys want to watch the whole hour and a half interview. I'd be down to watch it, but I don't think you guys want to watch the whole thing. So I did find a cut of it. I believe it's this one right here. So this is the video that we're going to jump into first and try to figure out what's going on in this situation.
I totally wasn't planning on that. I wish we rehearsed this, but we hadn't. I have other prep and stuff, but this is just like I hope it's interesting to.
All right, hold on. That's Kumie. We do want to check out his thoughts on the situation. He knows all these guys. Landau used to work for him previously, but that's not the actual clip I was looking for. I thought it was a 20-minute, though. Well, I'll tell you what, if... Yeah, let's go straight to the... I want to see this first. We're going to go straight here.
Happened, and I don't want people to think that there's things that went burning in hell.
But you also had some other news. So you're officially have left Louder with Crowder.
I did. I left a while ago. Yeah, a little while ago.
Okay.
I had left. I think we talked that day a bit. I had jury duty actually when I was going to go back onto the show. They had offered an NDA that I had turned down, and he did give me a nice, going away thing, gift. I don't want to get into it, but it was still but they decided not to have me back on. I decided to leave, and I walked from the show. It was a long time coming, about a year now. It was just through various contract issues, and it's an.
Now, he says it's a long time coming, about a year now. Was he on the show for that long? Like, I know he's been on there a year, but... Been talks of him leaving since he started? I didn't think he was on there for that long.
Odd thing, because I wanted to address it, and we had talked about it a little bit, and you made a very good point to me of, like, I could either bring it up or have my story be told for me.
Yeah.
And I don't... It sucks because I'm never one of those people that wants to go out and kind of, it doesn't feel like narking, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where after what happened, even when I left Anthony's show, there were so many people that drew their
Anthony
own. Anthony Cumia's show, for people that don't know me. I used to be the co-host there. So many conclusions were drawn to what actually happened as opposed to what actually happened. And I don't want people to think that there's things that went on behind the scenes that didn't.
Yeah, so just to fill in the blanks, I think a lot of times, and we've all experienced this on social media, I certainly have, when someone doesn't get their story out and there's gaps, the audiences will fill in those gaps for you and leap to all sorts of conclusions and just kind of create a narrative that doesn't at all comport to reality.
That's true.
So a lot of times when a lot of times, I don't always do this, but it's important to be like, all right, here's the tea. This is what really happened, and so on and so forth. Do you want to talk a bit about, like, what led up to this decision on your part?
Yeah, I guess the beginning of it was Everything was going pretty well at the beginning of the show when I
When
first
did you
signed
join that show? Let's talk
I-
about that.
Okay. I joined the show I was first offered February 2001.
Okay. 2001?
No, 2021.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
forget. I'm like,
it was
forget.
right. We
Boy.
needed to make America laugh because they knew something was on the horizon.
Yes, I joined in my 5th year of high school, which is a fact. Yes, I joined shortly before 9/11.
Yes.
Yeah, I joined in February 2021. When Anthony, I thought, was going to be moving to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So Stephen had made an offer to come work for him, and I had been guesting on the show fairly regularly, so I took him up on that offer.
Okay. How did you find it? Let's talk about that. You want to talk about the end? You want to talk about the beginning? How do you want to talk about this situation?
The beginning was great for a while. It really was. It was a lot of hanging out, collaborating, putting out sketches, doing the things that I was hired for. Definitely a grind. But that was part of it. The pot was sweetened, so to speak, is what I was offered. It was not this gigantic payday that everybody's.
All right, this is why I wanted to find this section of the actual podcast, because when people do these fucking clips, they always cut out important shit that they don't think's important, but I think it's important. So
the XS1 differentiates itself because
we're backtracking
it's a strength training platform that also incorporates 6 different types of cardio activities. You can overload.
Yuma show for people that don't know me. I used to be the co-host there. So many conclusions were drawn to what actually happened as opposed to what actually important for the fans to not hear it. I always felt that my job is or have my story be told for me.
Yeah.
And the beginning was great for a while. It really was. Okay. It was a lot of hanging out, collaborating, putting out sketches, doing the things that I was hired for. It's definitely a grind, but that was part of it. The pot was sweetened, so to speak, is what I was offered. It was not this gigantic payday that everybody seemed to think. It was almost no bump, but
you didn't get $50 million.
No, I didn't get. I got about $1,000 extra a year, but it's hard to talk about money, but it was. But I knew that it would help on the road, and he wanted me to be there on more Fridays, and that started being a point of tension because I started making money on the road, and I did say I would be there on more Fridays, but every time I would show up, he wouldn't show up.
Okay,
and I just said, all right, well, I'm just going to work or go and see my son. And, he's in Detroit. And I said, as long as everything was working out, there was a possibility that they could move there.
Yeah. They meaning your family.
Yes. So about a year went by and things had gotten more tense. Like things were more restrictive. For example, I had been more censored as things went on where I couldn't, for example, say the word come.
Okay.
Like ejaculate. I forgot when I made the joke that was offensive or whatever it was.
You could only eat it. You couldn't say it's going to go in your mouth, not come out of your mouth.
I could eat it with a spoon, or I could say yummy yum yums when referring to it, but I could never actually say.
I could eat it with a fork. I could eat it on a ship. I can't finish the rhyme, but you get me.
I could refer to.
That's kind of funny, but why did he have you stop saying that? Obviously, there was some reason behind it. I don't think it offended him personally. So it had to have been some kind of, I don't know, YouTube rule or something.
I could go, those are nice gutters you have, but I couldn't say that I had the gutters.
They're vascular. I'm very pleased with them these days.
Yeah. Are you still there?
They're back. Yeah.
Good for you. I don't have cum gutters at all.
Don't say that.
Well, I just don't. I'm sorry.
You're not allowed to use that word in this show.
I forgot about the email you sent me.
No, you're not allowed to use the word gutters. Any reference to manual labor is verboten.
I'm sorry. I don't have the cum. And then, it became a little weird because a light was put in where it was his rant button. And it was basically a Dave don't talk button.
Wait, so there's literally a light
sure where
bulb.
my lights are
What
going
color
out.
was the light bulb?
There was 4 lights in a row.
There were
and when
3 lights.
I'm serious. And when it was hit, I wasn't supposed to talk. And they
Do you
said,
remember, was it like a regular colored light bulb, or was it like red?
It was like a yellow, a
Okay.
pretty bright yellow, like like yield.
So it's like off camera, but in your eyesight.
Yes, and
would he be the one pressing the button, or was there a producer pressing the button?
He would press it.
So like Mr. Burns, like he had a button under his desk or the table, and when it's Steven's turn to talk and Dave needs to shut the F up, he presses this button.
Yes.
How do I get this to happen? Because frankly, we're 13 minutes in and you're already on my last nerve. This is with Michael Malice.
Aren't you hitting it now? Oh, that's just Zoom doing it. He had that. Well, and then I was told that he's like, well, that was always there, and I'm like, no, I would have noticed the light and been told about it. That's.
Folks, you know how ExpressVPN protects your privacy and security online? Well, here's something you might not know. You can also use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. If you run out of stuff to watch on Netflix, this will change your world. All you have to do is fire up the ExpressVPN app, change your location to the UK, for example. You refresh Netflix. That's it, where you want sites to think you're located. Choose from almost 100 different countries. Just imagine all the Netflix libraries you can go through. You love Korean dramas? Use ExpressVPN to Parasite of South Korean Netflix. Not too bad. Rick and Morty and Australian Netflix. Not too shabby. Ditch the dry cleaner all. Like, if you and I are in a room and a lamp turns on, we're not like, oh crap, Crowder's talking somewhere. Just be quiet, quiet.
Well, it's almost literal gaslighting, except with electricity. Because you're like, that wasn't there, and you're like, no, it was. And you're
That's
like, no, I know it wasn't there.
The reboot is it's always been electricity. It was never a gas.
Yeah, it's updated for the 50s.
Yes.
So, and you're like, I know it wasn't there, So
wait, so how were you informed that there is a don't talk light, and what was your reaction?
I was pissed a bit because I know my job. I know that he talks a lot. I know that he's the star of the show. I know when to throw him what he needs to be thrown. I know when to sit back. It's what I did with Anthony for years. It's what I did next to Artie. It's what it's what I do. I'm not trying to ever steamroll him.
Right.
It was just, hey, don't be
just your normal Twitch goer. Appreciate the follow.
Don't be funnier. Don't be, and that's the truth. I mean, it sounds bitter, but I knew it was true because I was pulled aside and I said it, and it was, hey, make sure if you're doing a rant or like you guys are riffing, he gets the last word.
You were told this explicitly?
Yes.
Well, is it that maybe he didn't want to talk over you, so that the show is called Louder with Crowder, but not Loudest with Crowder? So
yes.
he wants to at about a 7, but not at a 10. You can understand that.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was all about the title, and I wasn't respecting it, so there needed to be a light. And I had to make sure that, he got the last thing. So even if I did have a funnier joke, I would just leave it out. It was important for the fans to not hear it. I always felt that my job as a comedian was to leave out the good one.
That's it. I don't know. I've never heard of that, to be honest. I mean, I kind
of understand what Dave is saying here, but it's not his show. So if Steven is putting places or things in place on his show to make him look better on his show, I mean, it's kind of douchey. You should just come up with a funnier joke. But I do get his point. I don't want to be the second funniest guy on my show. So that makes sense. You know what I mean? He wanted to get the last laugh type of thing. So I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like that's a thing. But maybe, what do I know? I've never been a co-host.
I've heard it in radio a couple times. Very rarely. Okay. Yeah, but I have heard of it where it's just the star needs to look like the star. So I guess, it's his show. Fine. But I also feel like somebody who's so pro free speech and non-censorship He was really about censorship.
Okay.
It involved me. But he was going through, surgery that was a big deal at the time and stuff. I was fairly forgiving of it, And then about a year in, it was February 2022 for the Super Bowl.
Right after the 9/11.
It was right after 9/11.
The nation was healing.
None of us could forget. And I was selling flags. I was making just a mint off of
You're
tiny
making
flags.
a killing. Come
killing.
on, that's money on the table. I was making a killing at ground zero.
Yes.
Dude, this is why you had the light.
I was trying to build a mosque 3 doors down from ground zero. And people were very upset, and I didn't understand why. So these are my beliefs. And so I was plotting a big Patriot Day event, and that was a big day. So I forgot where we were. Oh,
we're talking about a year after. The light.
He wanted me to film a special.
Okay.
And
what kind of
I'm sorry, he didn't. I wanted to.
You wanted to film a special, okay? Yeah.
Stand-up comedy. So I had decided I was going to buy the equipment and film the special in Dallas, and we were selling out this theater. And he decided he wanted to get back into stand-up, which he had done when he was younger.
Okay.
And he had just been a host since then. So he said, "Hey, can I jump on and open it, and I'll help promote it? And you can help me maybe write some of my stuff, get me back into it, and I'll help promote it." And I said, "Sure, of course." So we ended up selling out 2 shows, obviously, instead of just one, because he was helping promote it, and he's a draw. So we went there, and Matt McClowery was the opener.
He's been on this show as well. People can look back. Yep.
Autistic,
literally autistic comedian Matt McClowery. Very funny.
Literally autistic. Yes.
Yes.
The real deal. The real kind of shooter. And
he's trans too.
Yes, you didn't know?
He's trans too.
He's really passing as a freak.
Yeah, he does a great job. Born a lady, but total candlelight vigil. And he went up and got a standing ovation after Steven, and Steven kind of saw we were friends. And after that, I pulled Steven aside, and Steven couldn't do the Monday show, and I said, could Matt come in and co-host with me? He said, yeah. So now it's Super Bowl Sunday. The whole special went great. I paid everybody to film it except for one other person, Tim, who was there to film Steven's set. And I was very looking forward to the special coming out. And Sunday had rolled around, and I get a call from the showrunner that said Matt's not allowed to do the show. How
did they tell you? Like literally what they say?
Via text, it was just Matt's not allowed. Matt can. It's been like decided, something like that. Matt, I can find the text,
but the word is allowed. It's not like we don't have time or won't fit the schedule. The word was allowed.
Matt's not allowed
permitted or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. To do the show on Monday.
Was there any explanation at all?
No.
Okay.
So I said, that's odd. I already asked Steven, and he said it was okay.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, that's weird. I must have gotten mixed messages. So I just texted Steven and said, hey, I just talked to the showrunner. I just want to make sure it's still cool that Matt comes in. And he texted me something back along the lines of, what's done is done.
Oh.
And I said,
what does that mean? It's your show. Wait,
yes.
maybe he had a light. And when the light went on, decision making ceases. See, you have the yellow light. He's got the red light in his house. It's lights all the way up.
It's true. Maybe when I asked him, he was seeing a green light.
Yes, you idiot.
Yeah, I know.
This is how show business works. It's
what it is, the business of show, and yes. I am not paying attention to the.
How are you going to show things without lights? You're going to show them in the dark. That makes no sense.
Very little sense.
Yes.
And
unless
really,
it's a movie, I guess. That's showing things in the dark. Well, I guess this is why I'm sitting here in my demon chair instead of in a nice studio.
It's fine blurring out my background so nobody knows what this hellish life is.
this opium den.
Yeah, it really is. There's sadness behind me. I've asked everybody
around you and inside you.
There's a lot of mothers going to hell behind me.
So he just says, what's done is done.
Yeah, and I said, what does that mean? It's your show, which is ironic. That's what he said. And my phone rings, and I don't want to go greatly into the conversation between us, but it was he's like, do you still want to be on Louder with Crowder? And I said, not at the moment. And he starts going off on me, and now there's a ton of people in my apartment who can hear it.
Wait, like he's literally raising his voice?
He's screaming at me.
Okay, so literally raising his voice, not just being stern, like to the point where it's audible.
It's audible, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it's started stern, but then it got into telling me that he owns me, and
in those words.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. He owns me, and once you say,
you must have been on clearance. I mean, no one.
I was on sale, baby.
Neither of us can even reach the top shelf, let alone sit on it.
No, it's. I was in a basket with a bunch of balls. He I was in a looted Walmart. Yeah, it was just it was venomous, and I don't know what he was going through at that point, and I just was like, dude, it was all this projection coming at me.
Wait, let's slow down. Let's slow down because you're a comic, right?
Yeah.
So I'm obviously not a comedian, but there have been many moments in my life when things are so surreal that I could, even if they're disturbing to experience, on some level, I could be like, this is hilarious. Not hilarious, but like, yeah, no, hilarious. Like this is just in the terms of absurdity. Like if someone is sitting there screaming at me, I own you. It's just like there's no Venn diagram in my background between that and reality, other than that brief period when I was a slave in Libya. But we don't talk about that as much anymore because of after the Obama administration. So
I was once a slave. I made mugs for a talk show. Go on.
Was this the first time he had yelled at you?
In that way, yes, where it had come out where I saw a different person that I had heard rumors about.
Had Anthony Cumia ever yelled at you like that?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Anthony and I never even looked at each other in a bad way.
Okay. So
even when I left the show, I've never said a bad word about him, and likewise.
I mean, I yelled at you, but that was just for my own. I didn't say I owned you. I said I don't want you. It's not the same.
No.
I said I disown you.
I was trying to hug you at the time, and I guess it wasn't the right situation.
Well, we were on a precipice.
I mean, it hurt, but I feel like it was half my fault.
Good, you've learned. the gaslighting worked. It's your fault.
Yeah, I've always learned that. Ever since mother taught me as a boy, it's mostly my fault.
This is why mommy and daddy can't live together. It's because you're too dumb and ugly.
That's why.
And neither of us wants you.
Listen, we're leaving, but it's just because of you.
Yeah, we still love each other very much.
Do you see the pictures before you, how we're together? Well, do you see how the ones with you?
But I mean, you must. So let's just live in this moment for a bit because it's just very jarring to me, right? So you're already kind of ticked that your buddy Matt, who had a good audience reaction that Steven was privy to, Steven had said, "Hey, have him on the show." To your face that he's allowed on. So that.
All right, one side tangent. Why does he have his fucking mic stand right here, like across the middle of the screen and then hanging down? Couldn't you put it below the camera and then the mic facing up? Like, why is this there? Like, I have one of these also, but I don't keep it where it fucking lays across the damn camera. I'm sorry, that was just bothering me. All right.
And then just to be kind of, for Matt to be dismissed summarily, he's got to suck. Did you have the opportunity to even tell Matt he's pulled before this whole interaction happened?
No, but Matt was very well. One, Matt could hear, and also
Matt was there.
Yeah, Matt was in the room. Yeah.
Oh,
and also he's very intelligent. He read the situation immediately and kind of could read it the night before because Matt did very well. But
here's the other thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Matt isn't like, hey, I got this buddy back in Detroit. He should be your show. Steven saw firsthand that Matt is a professional comedian and responded well to Steven's same audience. So this isn't like some hearsay thing. I got this great buddy. We went to high school together. You should have him on.
No, he got a standing ovation as an opener in 2 shows in front of him.
Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. So as he's yelling, like, what is going through your head?
The only thing bothered me just because I don't like being talked to like that.
Yeah, who does?
At all.
Right.
But it was comical in a lot of ways because it's just, I understand that there's going to be a touch of narcissism to anybody who's sort of in that field. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
But
you go humorous, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was so over the top that I was trying not to laugh. And then he said Matt couldn't do his closing bit, which was killer because it was too dirty. And you've seen
Wait, hold on. He couldn't do the closing bit on stage?
If we were going to tour together in the future, Matt couldn't do his closing bit on stage. Somehow that comes up. So you could tell there was this projection of how he was angry of how well that bit did.
Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to linger on this for a moment because this is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, so Crowder's jealous of this other guy's comedic skills and wants to take a joke out of his set because it hits too hard? Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing a very petty side of Crowder and a very insecure side of Crowder, I guess you could say.
Told you to tell your friend who you don't own that if he's going to tour with you, there is a joke that is the closing joke. You close on the strong joke. You don't close on, whatever, like any of your material.
Yes.
And you let him know he can't end on the closer that kills, that gets standing ovations.
That's the truest to him about being a high school wrestler.
But so he can't. But it's not like this. But I'd bring the joke. It's not like this joke is a Nazi joke. Endorsing lynching or endorsing like something horrifically offensive.
Oh no. That's right. More Stevens. But
I'm just clarifying for the audience. It's not like he's saying, hey, if I'm touring with this guy, this joke makes it look like I'm, kind of I endorse slavery or something crazy like that. That's not what he's saying.
Not at all. The joke is actually, if I could be specific,
Sorry,
it's
Matt.
about. No. It's honestly just a joke about how when he played, football or when he was a high school wrestler, he would come out to the song "A Whole Lot of Love." That was their song before they would mount boys on all fours, and it was like, essentially like, oh, look, they forfeited again, undefeated season. And then, he talks about how, and it goes into this whole thing about how he doesn't like sports. And whenever you tell a group of guys that, they look at you like you took a cock out of your mouth to say it. And it's like just how and it's about him dealing with Asperger's, but also coming from a family of athletes. So it's this very true
and personal,
very personal, very real, not filthy, not gratuitous, just this very honest story. So he went into that, and then he goes into.
Did he give you a reason why he can't do that joke?
Yeah, exactly.
He said it was too dirty.
But what was dirty? It's not like you have kids at these. Like your material, a lot of your material is very dark and very appropriate for kids, right?
100%.
When you say a good.
Now, as a little feedback, I actually went and seen. Crowder and Dave perform up in Phoenix. Me and my daughter drove up there and went to the show. It was an excellent show, but Dave was definitely funnier than Steven. That's just facts. It was a great show, though.
Good. Let's be conservative. What, 30% is like kids should not be hearing these jokes?
100. Yeah, absolutely.
Easily.
Well,
okay.
And he would say stuff to me before shows of like, keep it clean, which when you're me, you're like, what the? You're just holding it in. Like, why? Like, this has been me for 20 years. You skipped a decade and you're going to tell me keep it clean. And I'm like, yeah, let me do that for you. Let me just give up on what I do in my own craft.
Right.
Yeah, you feel like, because that's kind of what comics do when they can't do well. And he can do well. It's his audience. And it's not that he's going to do poorly. It's just an insecurity to go,
exactly.
You keep it clean. Don't do that. It's pathetic. It's not necessary.
It is.
It's not. He doesn't need to do that.
Is that just him putting his what on the table kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's unnecessary. He's going to do fine. And that's what I never got. It's like, why swing your dick around when it's not necessary?
Okay.
So in that, he then, this very oddly telling thing, he's like, this is why you don't have any friends. And I was like, what are you, like,
Wait,
it literally,
he said that?
Yeah. And in the next room.
In all fairness, I had been texting him that.
Oh, well, I wish you would have told me.
I said, I am so sick of Landau. He does 0 numbers on my show. The guy's never funny, and he can't keep it clean. And by clean, I mean his underwear.
And he will not pay attention to the cum light, which is what I call it. It's the gutters light.
Yes.
And
the nice pearly white.
Yes. And it was such an odd thing though to say that, because I'm like,
you have no friends?
Yeah, and I was like, listen, I have plenty. They're just dead.
Yeah.
And no, it's funny because I'm like, no, I literally, everybody who grew up next door to me, like the godfather of my son grew up in the house behind me. I've never lost a friend.
Wait, I'm sorry. What is, okay. I'm this is where
so
my
weird.
Autism is coming in. When he says this is why you don't have any friends, what is this referring to? Not being clean?
I guess this is because I was kind of giggling.
Oh,
like, I'm sure
seriously enough, because he was, from your perspective, being so over the top.
Yes, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure the phone call was recorded, so we can always hear it. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I'm just saying that he legitimately records his phone calls.
Okay. Well, that's why he has more friends than you.
Tons.
You know we're recording this, right?
No. Why wouldn't you? You said this was a call between friends. Why do you do this?
I would never refer to myself as your friend in any context.
What?
I own you.
You told me that this was something.
I own you.
Why would I share this information publicly? I could get in trouble. Do you know that he does some sort of karate? He could hurt me with karate chops.
Or break a board.
He could break a board.
Yeah.
He could put on an outfit, and in that time I could get in my car and leave.
Ever think about that?
Yeah, you ever think about while you're putting on your outfit, I might have time to go?
Folks, Michael Malice here, podcaster, author, and yes, underwear model. Sheath is something that I wear every day, and the great thing about Sheath underwear is that they have
and yes,
go to zbiotics.com/malice. You get 15% off your first order when you use Malice. Because my mom is tough, but there's situations where that just obviously makes it infinitely worse, because if someone's screaming and the person just is awkwardly laughing, it feels like you're laughing at them as opposed to laughing at the situation.
Yes, and it's so odd because like I considered it's still in a way like he was like my friend, and that's why I even feel odd talking about it. But it has to like come out somehow, because when you start getting treated like that, you're like, okay, well, he's not looking back to my entire track record of my life of like, I don't talk about my friends. I don't attack my friends. I do have friends from when I was a little kid. I don't treat my employees like shit. I don't have the turnover rate of an opium den. You know what I mean? It's like it's been a difficult time. And all of a sudden I had a really good night and I had a decent year of stand-up, and my agent came there. And this is another thing, I guess, I just kind of adding on, where my agent had come there, and the whole year I was like, look, he kind of wants me to be there on Fridays, even though he's not showing up. And my agent he's this gay Cuban dude who was like, well, if you're working with me, you need to be working. So he would just always book my shows out. But then all of a sudden.
Wait, so how many times did he no show on a Friday before you were like, okay, this is ridiculous?
Probably 8 or 9.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so like literally never he's there on Friday.
No.
But you're just sitting. Are you just sitting there writing, twiddling your, like literally what are you doing?
No, we would make our own sketches, like Moses and this Moses sketch, like Candy Ass was one, some other stuff. But eventually we couldn't get them greenlit, so we just kind of weren't doing anything. So I was just like, my family's not there, my kid's not there, and enough is enough, and I'm going.
Wait, so did you at some point like decide, hey, instead of me coming into the office, let me call to see if Steven's there, so I don't have to waste the trip?
They would decide on the day, and Gerald would say like, look, even if we're not going to be there, we need you there, even if you're just going to sit there and do nothing. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that at all.
Wait, they said that explicitly, that even if we're not, who's Gerald? Is he Steven's producer?
He's the CEO now, but he was one of the co-hosts.
Okay, so
second chair.
Okay, so he said to you, even explicitly, even if we're not there, we need you there.
Yes.
But I mean, if anyone's needed there, it's him. It's his show. You're not needed. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're literally not needed there ever.
I think what they were saying is one of us, one of like the main hosts, needs to be there on Fridays when they do whatever work they're doing on Fridays. Even if you're not participating, you need to be the supervisor for the day. And since it's Steven's show, he's not going to show up. Gerald's number 2, he's above you. So you're lowest on the totem pole. You get the grunt work, which means you got to play babysitter on Fridays when nobody else wants to be there. I mean, shitty situation being lowest on the totem pole, but you were lowest. So sometimes you get the grunt work.
Like, it's his
Correct.
show. He's the one who is needed to be there to be a show. If you're missing, it's fine. If he's missing, it's a problem because it's Steven's show.
Yes, he's killing it on Rumble without me. It's fine. I knew that.
Okay.
That's the truth, though. That's the reality. And I kept saying, like, no, I'm gonna go live my life. That was the problem. Is like, dude, I'm making money. I'm going on the road. I'm making money for the first time
And building an audience.
and building an audience. And I'm
that's
making
the other thing. Like, I've seen. Sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, people. I just want to talk about this a little slower. People really get off. No, I'm not trying to be cute. The people you see on your screens when you see them live and in person, it's a very different experience. And I've done that myself. Like, I've gone to see people I like, and it's like, it's so much fun when you go, oh, there they are. It's such a, especially after COVID, to see them live and in person. It's very, very exciting. And you love to have an excuse to.
One thing that's kind of bothering me about what Dave just said, though, is he's like, look, I'm doing shows now. I'm finally starting to make money. Why were you making money on your shows all of a sudden? It's because you were on Crowder. You know what I mean? Like you said, you had been a comedian for decades. You weren't making any money on the show or on the road. And now you're telling Steven, well, I can't show up on Fridays because now I'm making money on the road because of the show that I'm on that requires me to show up on Fridays. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Just throw them money with a ticket and support them.
Yes. And it's something that I've really not experienced. I mean, I would have a bit of that after being on Compound, but most of my entire career was going to the middle of nowhere or wherever I was booked and getting an audience to like me.
Yeah.
So to finally have an audience, it was the first time in my life, and I was really grateful for it. You know, you just go to these places, and there's people who were wearing, you know, shirts with my face on them, and it was exciting. And
how ugly do you have to be if you want to have Landau on your shirt to distract from your mug?
Some of them were gross. Talk about but you get a pretty one. Occasionally you get a pretty girl, and I'd be like, okay, why are you like me? But yeah, no.
I hope when you saw that shirt she's wearing, you go, I own you.
I would be like, that's mine. And I'd be looking at them.
Okay, so they told you explicitly, we need you here on Fridays, even if we're not here, and you said, I'm not doing that.
And I never agreed to it. I agreed to some, you know, and it was the same as.
Was it the point of contention?
Big time.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Big time it was. And then, but my agent wasn't going to stop booking me anyway.
Okay.
So I was getting good money. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. But then Steven wanted to do a tour together.
Okay.
So
this is circa when?
This is shortly after the Dallas show in 2022.
Okay, so like early 2022.
So we did a couple of shows that were 50-50.
Wait, I'm sorry. There's an important part here that I think we skipped over. If someone boots my friend from their show, which is their prerogative, it's their show, right?
Yeah.
And then they call me up screaming.
Mm-hmm.
The next time I see them, it's gonna be weird, I would imagine. Like, what happened after that? Like, how did that resolve, and how did you see him next time? Did you have to smile and nod?
No, I came in and he said, what was it? He apologized in a weird way. It was, you asked me in a weird way is what he said. And I said, how? And he said, you asked me in front of a lot of people in the green room. And I said, it was just me and you. And he's
so
like,
he was
what
just
was
not accurate. What he
no,
said.
it's just not accurate. But it was more like I was so used to the gaslighting at this point that I was like, what? Okay, I'm like, but he did a great job. And he's like, well, I didn't know him, and I just saw how he did in front of the crowd, so I don't know how he would have been on radio. And I was like, you could have just said no.
Right.
And
Or you
he's
could have
like,
tried them out once. I mean, a lot of these shows work well when they have like a big roster of, because it makes the host look better. I mean, Gutfeld does this very phenomenally. Red Eye, which, you know, you were on Red Eye as well, weren't you?
yes.
You know, look how many people came out of Red Eye. Me, you, Tim Dillon, Andrew Schultz. Like, there's just no shortage of people who, you know, Kaylee McEnany, Bill Schultz. Just so many people came out of that show.
Yes. So it was just a matter of, and I know Matt's great because I've had him on Anthony's show. He did that a ton of times and people loved him. And that's a crowd of people who want to hate you.
Right.
So it was something that I knew would work, but then he never.
And I'm sorry, like, he's like, this is no disrespect to Matt, and he is the perfect sideshow because he's a freak. And he knows he's a freak. Like, that's a lot of his humor. It's like, look, I'm wired completely differently from you guys. I'm basically an alien. Like, let's laugh at it together.
And he's going to land something in the middle of what we're talking about that we're not going to see.
Right. Because his brain literally works differently than ours does.
Absolutely.
And he's perfectly happy being the punchline.
Yep. Which is the best part. I mean, if you can't take a joke, why be there? And that's very difficult, you know, with Steven. And Matt ended up touring. He ended up hosting the shows. I took care of him myself out of pocket. And we ended up doing this tour together. Now, the first couple of shows were 50-50. And then the money changed. And all of a sudden, I noticed that I wasn't allowed to promote my own shows on Crowder unless it was behind the paywall or right before.
How were you told that you're not allowed to promote your show?
Like, the shows would start, and 2 minutes before showtime, somebody would walk up to me and go, "Hey, you can't promote your show today."
There was never a reason given.
No, it was more to, it was like demeaning. So you'd be like, oh, thanks. Great.
Let me play devil's advocate. Was it the kind of thing when you were on the show, you would just use any excuse to bring up your show to promote it? So they wanted to kind of pull back on that?
No, never once. He just wanted to promote his shows that we were both on together, or the ones that he started doing in clubs, which I realized that my agent was booking. That even though I had asked my agent if he started repping Steven, I was never given a straight answer until obviously I figured out that night in Dallas, my agent had flown there to sign Steven. And now it was his bigger client. And I was told by him that he was really there. He's like, and even when I asked him at first, he's like, sign who? What do you mean work with them? I don't know what you mean work with them. What? You know, it was sort of this very roundabout way until I realized, like, I keep getting fucked here, and I keep getting like less. I never get a bump and raise, and now things started getting progressively worse, where I could never promote my shows. All of a sudden, it got really bad to the point where my agent was yelling at me, and he'll watch this and get pissed, and I don't give a shit. But he would. He
literally raised his voice. Also,
my agent was screaming at me, and that's when he and I fired him once, and it was already, he was screaming at me in my car. He's like, go in there and do your job. And I go, I am doing my job. I go, that's the problem, is I've always done my job. There's no complaints from the company that I don't do my job. That's the thing. The only complaint I ever had was that I fell asleep a couple times, but it wasn't because I was up all night doing blow and banging whores. It's because I write for the show. Or it was that I was late, which guilty. And I'll say that because they wanted me there at 7 o'clock or 7:15 or 5:15. Yeah.
5:15?
Yeah, it would depend on what they wanted to do that day. And I couldn't figure out, like, I couldn't get into a rhythm of it. And they kept changing what they wanted to do, like what time, when to come in, what the thing was, what the job was, what the this, the that, you know. And if you text me at 11 o'clock at night to write something, I'm going to be up until 1, maybe 2 writing it. If you text me at 6 o'clock and you want me there at 7, well, I need to write it, so I'm not going to get there until 8:15. But I don't go live until 9:15. But I wasn't treated as talent. I was kind of treated like, you know, like more of a 9-to-5 employee, which I had zero interest in being.
Right.
Even though I didn't mind being a 24/7 employee, though, if that makes sense. I don't mind, you know, always pitching the show. I had, you know, ads made every day. I always was pumping it. I always talked about it. I always said good things. I met every fan that went to every show. I didn't mind being a 24/7 employee, but you want me to be there 9 to 5, and then you also want me to be there at 9 p.m. when you need me, and then you want me to be there at 6 a.m. when you need me. It's like, that's not what I'm there for.
Right.
I'm there to be your sidekick, which is fine. And then I'm there to write the things you want me to write. And it's cool. It's fine.
Okay.
But it was always, for somebody who always uses the term moving the goalpost, that's all it became. So we began touring together, and yes, it was very good money, and I paid Matt very well. But it always became something where nothing feels good, even if you're making money, if you're being treated like you don't deserve it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the whole time it felt like this is everything that I have and it's being given to you. So even the whole tour, you just feel kind of like shit. And it doesn't really matter. You know, you've just kind of, you're like, I'd rather just go back to clubs. I don't care. And we go on break in July
2022.
This is July 2022. And we got a new showrunner who was doing our tour at the time named Jeff, a good guy. And I get back from break, and at this time, I wouldn't go into anything about Steven's family, and I wouldn't want him to go anything about mine either, obviously. But somebody in my family was very, very sick and had been battling something for a while, seriously. And he knew that. And I came back, and he gave
they had an ugly, talentless family member.
Yes, and it was just
who's probably a lesbian.
It's me, and I'll tell you, no matter how much work is done on this face,
this mug.
Yeah, God has cursed me. That's why they wanted to change Mug Club. It was just any association, and so I get back, and the first thing I do is I get brought to lunch, and I get presented with this option with a new.
T-Mobile knows whether you break down in the middle of nowhere or get a flat tire.
New contract.
Now, Dave, before you talk about your contract and the importance of money, let's talk a little bit about Patriot Gold and how that could help people save for their future. Folks, if you've been on the fence about buying gold and silver, have you seen what's going on around us? Just go to malicegold.com.
Then the new contract says that my old contract is terminated.
Okay, officially.
Okay. It's officially terminated as of August 2022. And my new choice is I have to be there Monday through Friday. I gotta probably look at the stipulations if you want me to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, pull it up.
Yeah, I can send one to you. It's but it was and I can even just read it. It says,
yeah, read it.
And this was sent to my agent, and it's like, this is just simply the contract. It was, William, just need a yes. I agree on all the revised items from Dave, and this is what Jeff showed me at lunch. And it was, once I get with our legal team on the revised contract below, it stays on salary, so no extra money. Moves to Texas, moves his family to Texas by the new year, first week of January.
You are, I'm sorry, part of your contract, a proposed contract, was that your family has to be moved across state lines.
Correct.
Including your kid. You have a son. How old's your son?
8, 7 at the time.
Okay. So pull him out of school during the school year, and he's coming to Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Dave is here every week unless he notifies us well in advance for a show, just like a doctor's appointment. Can't be gone any more than every third weekend.
No, wait. So let's break this down also. Steven has started touring as a comedian.
Yes.
Steven is no dummy. Steven is very well aware that you and every comic, weekends are when you tour, hit the road, you make the money. So he is very clearly taking that secondary or even primary, possibly at this point, source of income from you, because you're just going to be sitting in Dallas for no reason, because it's not like you're doing shows on the weekends with Crowder.
Right. And gone every other third weekends means every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then Writes for show every
Well, I got.
day.
I'm sorry. I just want to break this down. Was it ever said to you or intimated to you that your touring is affecting somehow your performance or writing for the main show?
Yes.
Oh, my writing? No. They felt that I had nodded off a few times, which really only happened maybe once or twice on a Monday because of like a delayed flight.
Okay.
But
Okay.
tough shit. I mean, that's
Okay.
my opinion. I don't care.
Okay.
Like, like Anthony never would have cared. Anthony was so full. Like,
All right, now that's very disingenuous to think that any employer wouldn't care if you're falling asleep on the job, especially a live TV show. To think that nobody would care if you're falling asleep during a TV show. Like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, Dave. Obviously, people are going to have an issue with you falling asleep at work.
Anthony would promote my stand-up where I don't even think I would really have to.
Okay.
That's how, even when you look back at the Opie and Anthony days, that's how everybody was making money.
But at the same time, it's also like if you're going to be up at 7 or what o'clock, you have to be there at 7. You're not exactly going to be all chipper. It's not like you're.
No, and I'm writing on the plane too.
Yeah.
And so I'm always working. Like there's not one assignment that I didn't turn in, and I have every screen grab to do that. There's nothing that I ever.
And in fact, you're writing a lot of sketches that just didn't even get greenlit, so you're doing extra work in addition to what did get greenlit.
Oh yeah, that's the next part, which is writes for show every day in the form of sketches, in studio bits, pulling from previous sketches, previous show ideas, and that can be turned into sketches. So that's just busy work that I did every day, just for the sake of busy work, which I'll be honest, I hate. It seems so pointless for a show to do, but it's his show. But it's like, why don't we make the best show we can do instead? That's why I think SNL like just comes off like it's written by the CIA, because you're just throwing 5 billion things at the wall instead of going, let's take these 7 things and master it.
Yeah.
I just feel like whenever we would do that, like whenever I would host the show and we would put together a sketch that morning, it would look really good, at least for what I wanted, because we were focusing on one thing, not trying to make 3,000 things and then going, well, this half-ass one should work.
Yeah.
Now, man, granted, he has millions and millions of followers, but his show was once that first idea, not just throwing everything just to have busy work, to look like a hard worker.
Yeah.
He was a hard worker. Now it's an illusion, The next thing is he's ready to start his own show by his own Friday show by October 14th. So now I have a show every Friday for no extra money. So I can't tour on Fridays.
Let's break this down. So you are going to have your own show, which is a plus.
Yes.
But you're not getting paid a single dime to host your own new show on his network or his platform.
Correct.
And in fact, it's costing you money because now you can't be out, doing 2 shows a Friday night in Tahoma or whoever the hell cares, some other city.
Right.
Okay.
So then
I've never heard of that. I'm sorry. I've never heard of someone saying, I'm giving you your own show. You're not getting paid for it. I don't understand that.
That's definitely weird.
Right. It was, well, it's control, and that was kind of what bothered me. It was the I own you aspect. And then the hours.
But that's the thing. If you're doing your own show, they're making money from ad sales or at the very least adding value to the network because now there's more content and you're not seeing a cent of that.
Right. And that was sort of what it was before, where it was we're going to sweeten the pot, and that didn't happen.
Right.
But it did happen in the sense of road dates.
Okay. Right.
So I didn't complain, but then I can't do road dates unless he's on them now.
Right.
So basically I have to give up my stand-up career.
Right.
So then the next thing is hours Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I understand what he's saying. I have to give up my stand-up career, but didn't you just say you didn't really have a profitable stand-up career until you were on the show and started doing stuff with Crowder?
And then
here's the
Friday.
thing. I also want you to give up your stand-up career, but I'm actually prepared to pay you like a substantial amount of money because I just think it's for the greater good.
I know, but we both know it's not though.
All right.
How much
ahead.
we talking? No, I'll sell. Just let me know. Like I'm a whore. You'd be surprised how little I go for. I actually you wouldn't be. You'd be like, that seems too much.
Yeah.
So
I can get you a plastic cup with some Dr. Pepper remnants.
Well, as long as there's a dirty nickel in it, you've got yourself a deal. We also then it's hours Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Friday 9 to 5.
Okay.
Which is so I can never catch a plane out of town on a Friday to even do a Saturday. Then I have to be back on Sunday, making it impossible to see my child or do stand-up.
Yep.
And then the next thing is comedy special releases through Louder with Crowder, because he always felt that he owned my special, even though because he let me keep the door that night.
Now, his whole thing with he's not allowing me to see my kid, you chose to work in a different state than where your family lives. You chose not to take them with you. So I don't know how it's your employer's fault you're not able to catch a flight home every weekend to spend an hour with your kid. Don't get me wrong, I'm a father. That's the best thing about me, I think. And I would never go away from my kids. And work in a different state like that. And if I did, I wouldn't be complaining to my boss that I'm away from my kids, because it's a choice that you made. So that whole part of it is kind of weird.
Okay.
But I didn't sign anything that said, "Oh, you're letting me keep the door, so now you own my comedy."
Wait, let's hold on. Let's slow down. Like people like Tim Dillon and Andrew, the aforementioned Andrew Schultz, and Lucy Case, another one. They've done Gangbusters by Dave Smith. Libertas would hit #1.
Yes.
They do great numbers and make bank by putting out their special themselves, cutting out the middleman. People are more than happy to toss 10 or 12, 20 bucks. I don't know how much it costs, but it's like, hey, listen, if I don't support this artist, he's not going to be able to pay the rent. I'm more than happy to chip in because I'm getting content that I enjoy. He's making me laugh. This is fair. So his point was this comedy special, which wasn't have anything to do with him. It's your comedy, your stand-up.
Yep.
It's can only be, he's now just, even though for the same money, he's now going to kind of subsume that into his portfolio.
Yes, it's all inclusive.
Wow. Okay.
And that's a non-negotiable term.
Okay. How were you told? They told you this is non-negotiable?
Yeah. And since I know everything's always being recorded, I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and record this too.
Okay.
And I took a screenshot, and then I was either that or I was 1099'd. And that would be for lower money. And it was these parameters that, and I'll send you that because I think it's only fair. That included.
Well, why don't you read them? You don't need me to send them.
Post them. Please post away. It's fine.
You want me to post them? I'll tell the staff to post them.
Just on this. I mean, if you do a screenshot of the first, I just don't want people to think that it's some made up thing, because I just want people to know honestly why I left. And this is simply between, I'm not going into a lot of things that are behind closed doors, but I'm just, this is the reason I left. A few of the things that went in, goes into the back and forth. Studio Monday through Friday, 7:45 to 3:45. So now again, the times have changed.
Okay. Just
in a day. So it's again, company will enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy.
Okay, that whole thing. Hold on a second. Let me. I'm going to forward this right now before I forget. With this is the thing with the yellow.
No, the yellow was the last one. This one is just the first page of the independent contractor.
With everything and all the things handwritten, you want me to include that as well?
Yes, this was what was eventually sent to me.
Okay, I'm going to send it right now to my producer, so he'll put it up on the screen.
And this eventually showed up on October 2022 after I refused to sign anything starting when I returned in August, because I just wouldn't sign anything and I just kept showing up to work like Costanza.
And they kept paying you.
Yeah, they kept paying me forever.
Okay,
and I took the money because
sure.
I earned it.
Right, but I'm just saying it wasn't like, what are you doing here? They did keep paying you.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm looking at right here, and we're gonna have it on the screen. Oh, you're a third chair personality. You weren't the second chair?
No, I was third chair.
Okay. But the thing the thing that I'm seeing is company will enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy. Contractor agrees.
Let's pause this for a second and take a look. And additional hours on an as-needed basis. Call time is 7:45. Regular show days. These hours are subject to change due to the needs of the company, as well as to accommodate special live streams which may occur at night. And then they got a note here: legally must give 48-hour notice for time change. Company enforces strict 5-minute tardy policy, crossed out with 15 minutes. He shows up late, he has to leave for the day, agrees he won't get paid for the day. Should contractor be asked to write anything prior or after, should be considered part of the agreed hours in section 1.3. Okay.
That if he arrives to work more than 5 minutes late, he's in breach of section 1, must leave company premises and will not be compensated for the day the breach occurred. Contractor's breach of section, blah, 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 and you can't seek reimbursement for the days the breach occurred. So I don't think they even have this at McDonald's, to be honest. Like, if you're 5 minutes late, like, pack your crap and go home. How would that even be addressed on the air? Like, where's Dave? Oh, Dave was 5 minutes late?
Yeah, they go, how can you prove that? Well, our watches are different. Yeah, this is when I had to now start dumping money into entertainment lawyers. So a lot of the money that I even made on tour
Right.
So, that became another issue.
So promotion, it says that they agree to promote your stand-up once a week at a time. And
I don't think you paid a lawyer to write these notes on here, bro. Company agrees to promote the dates of contractors' independent business and stand-up comedy appearances once a week at a time in the median of the company's discretion, unless the company agrees otherwise. From time to time, contractor may agree to additional promotions of comedy appearances. On those occasions, contractor agrees to pay company 51%? 5% of appearances net profit ticket sold out shows.
In a medium of their discretion. So
Correct.
It could just be some random post somewhere that no one sees.
Correct. And that was because they had not been promoting me.
Okay.
And I put that I would, and it's in writing, and what I gave them was I would actually give them a commission of my sold out shows.
Okay.
And a commission of the shows if they were willing to actually promote my shows.
So is that your handwriting that I'm looking at?
Yes, it is.
Oh, so you said, okay, I'll give you guys 5% of the door if I sell out.
All right, so basically what that means to me is Dave wasn't able to sell out the shows unless they promoted the shows on Louder with Crowder. Obviously, you're not going to be willing to pay Crowder a percentage at the door if you don't think promoting the show is going to get you that much more at the door. So I don't know. That seems a little fishy. I need your show to fill up my comedy specials. I also need you to promote the specials. I also need you to give me enough time to do the specials. I don't know. I don't know, Dave.
Wow.
5% in general and 10% if I sell out.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Just because where else am I going to go to promote? I'm not on any other shows.
Right.
And I don't have time to go to other shows because I
Right.
write for him. And at this point, I'm now desperate to promote my shows because he won't do it.
Okay.
So you have me and Matt McClower. He's got a new daughter. We're going around the country and I'm watching ticket sales slide. And it's funny. Like I'm literally in malls, like for example, doing like a funny bone. And I'm in like a comic book store and Matt and I are standing there and a guy would go, "Hey, you're Dave Landau." And I go, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm performing at the Funny Bone upstairs." And he'd be like, "Really? You should mention your dates on your show." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I should. You're right."
Wow. That must have been like a knife in the heart.
It would hurt. Yeah. But I wouldn't tell them. I wouldn't go like, "Oh, it's because
I'm not allowed.
I
There's
got
the lights on.
Yeah. And at that point I had already had my, contract terminated. I could have said the truth, but I never
Was it
did.
terminated or did it resolve?
No, I mean that's definitely a dick move by Crowder, not allowing Dave to promote his shows. At least, something small to be able to promote it to help out. But honestly, Dave, I mean, Steven has no requirements as part of his show to promote your second business. You know what I mean? Like, if you work at Walmart and you also cut hair, Walmart's not going to put up a sign that says that you cut hair when you're not at Walmart. That was a stupid fucking analogy, but you get the point.
Was it like had a fixed date?
No, it never had a fixed date. It was just they had said that that was done, and
you were informed either verbally or in writing that your contract is hereby done. Okay.
Yes, and it was I had to choose either a 1099 or this new policy.
Okay.
And when Jeff asked me the choice, we were Buffalo Wild Wings, and I said, I guess whichever one fits up his ass better. Would you like to order lunch? Because I was pretty fucking pissed.
You said that?
Yep.
I got to tell you, like, I know you fairly well at this point. We've hung out one-on-one on more than one occasion. You're not someone who's got a temper, to put it mildly. You're very open about your past with recovery. I know a lot of people who are addicts. Bridget Fettisy's husband, Jaron, just stayed with me. They're moving here. He's in recovery. And as is she. And one of the things that's commendable about addicts is addicts realize I should be in a coffin or I should be in a gutter. So it takes a lot to be like, you know what? This is unfair. This sucks. Because you guys have been through rock bottom. Isn't like, you know what? I got drunk and I was hungover. That's not rock bottom. That's the penthouse. You know what I mean? But that's paradise to someone who's at. Oh no, I was just hungover. Poor me. Rock bottom is like I'm crying grandma's crying at Thanksgiving dinner, and I don't care because I'm too effed up to realize. Yeah.
Yeah, rock bottom is.
And I have a stolen ring of hers in my pocket. I'm gonna go sell after dinner
while they're dumping coal down your throat. And your mother's crying.
Yeah.
Like and that's not even rock bottom because once you get out, you still drink.
Yeah.
That's and that's the part that I don't think he ever grasped was I was and I'm still very forgiving of him because whatever he has and whatever he's going through, I just think he was bullied at some point in his life. And he has become the bully and he doesn't realize it. And that's what sucks is he's got a lot of yes men around him. And I really do love his staff and I love working with them. But I think that they are kind of just a little bit intimidated at this point to keep their own job. I know I was, so I don't blame him. But it's just there's just something there that I just don't grasp because there is part of him that I know is good. I've met that person. But then he does stuff that's behind your back that's like this, and you're like, why are you doing this for power? And it's and it's just not worth it to me. And at this point in my life, I have hit rock bottom enough, and I have been left with nothing enough that I'm just gonna go, all right, well, that's enough. I'm gonna just go fuck
Yeah,
myself,
I
and
know
I'm
what
gonna
it's like
walk.
to have nothing and be destitute, and I can do it. I've done it before.
Yeah, I can move on. I can go, and you can, he can claim martyr and make stuff up and say I did whatever, and I know the truth, and I know the people around me that know the truth, and that's just, and I'm being very, very generous here.
What happened when you said that line about he could shove it up his ass?
Jeff said, I figured it would go probably a little something like this. And then we ordered lunch. And because Jeff said specifically to me, he goes, I don't understand why he's so high strung like this, because you're not doing anything wrong. He just made me watch a full tape where he said you fell asleep. And I'm like, he didn't, because he was always looking for that. And he said, I don't understand, because you're turning in everything he's asking you to turn in. He was kind of confused by it because he knew that it was this constant, like,
but let me ask that tardy clause. How often were you late to work?
Oh, like to the actual like show, like being started? Once.
Okay.
He had me get an iPhone, and I got rid of my Android because I do stupid shit sometimes. I set it for PM and not AM, and I was late to the show. But a lot of the times when I was supposed to be there at like 8, I'd be there at 8:15, or I'd be there at 7:30, I'd be there at 7:50. But it was, again, because I was writing, and then I had to get ready to be on camera. It wasn't because of any other reason.
You were never late on camera?
No, never.
Other than once. Okay.
I mean, all right, so he's only late on the actual camera show once. I get that, not a big deal. But if everybody else at the office shows up at 7 o'clock to start doing show prep, or 7:30 or whatever, and you're always 20 minutes late, that's an issue. You know what I mean? Like, other people are there, they need you there to do whatever they're supposed to do, and you don't show up for 20 minutes. So if he's paying 20 other people to stand around for 20 minutes to wait for you, I'd get a little fucking butthurt too. And from what you just said, you didn't really give a fuck, because you didn't go on air till 9 whatever, so you didn't care if you were 20 minutes late, because the reason you were late is because you were working on the show but from home. Well, why didn't you get the fuck ready, go into office, and then work on the show at work, where they expected you to be working on the show? So that doesn't make any sense. He would tell me he wants me to write something, so I have to stay home to write it. Why? Go to work and write it. Show up to work on time and write it. I don't know.
Only once.
Landsweeper automatically discovers and identifies any asset in your environment. Depending on the
Okay. Wow. Okay, because if you have a clause like that, it would imply to me that this is an ongoing problem and we need to nip it in the bud. Wait, so this so-called tardy policy, do you know if this is something that other people had to deal with, or was this something exclusive to your contract, to your best of your knowledge?
Oh no, it was just me. I mean, it was just me. It was odd because I wasn't allowed in rehearsal. So there would be a rehearsal, and like they would go over everything, but I wasn't allowed in it. So I would have to sit in a separate boardroom with John, who works there, and just wait for 45 minutes, kind of arbitrarily.
Every day?
While they did rehearsal for no reason, just because it was sort of an aspect of control while they did a rehearsal. And I wasn't allowed in the room. And my agent did fight, Steven's agent did fight to kind of, get me in the room. Still never happened. And
what's the upside of not having the...
Yeah, I don't understand. What would be the point of not having the third chair of the show sit in with rehearsal?
Co-host during the rehearsals to make his comments fresher?
I think so. He knew the jokes and where he could go quicker.
But why wouldn't you want the co-host to also know the jokes so you could go? I don't understand this. I'm trying
I
to
guess
look
you
at
would
his
seem
perspective.
funnier because you knew the topics better. I mean, even though I did know the topics because I was writing them into the show.
Okay.
But I guess it was just I don't know. I just was not allowed in the room.
You were never given reason, is my point.
Not really, no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I guess that could make sense. He wants it to be a fresher reaction on the actual live. Maybe. But if Dave's part of planning the show and already knows what they're going to talk about, then yeah, that seems weird. I don't know why you would keep him out of the rehearsal. That's definitely strange.
I would have to rush there to do nothing. So I would be playing with his dog while they did that.
Every day.
Unless we had to film something or I was to write something last minute, which wasn't very often.
Okay.
Because I had already written it the night before or that morning.
Okay. So this was what, August, you're saying?
Well, August and then October was when this other contract came in. I said I'm not just going to have some deal where it's, you know, a not a non-disclosure, but a non-negotiable thing. I'm like, that's just no. So I got the entertainment lawyer, filled it out, like I said, through this.
I don't understand that whole thing about telling you where your family has to live. I think that's kind of really that to me sounds really
that. I mean, obviously, for an employer to tell you where your family has to live is fucking weird. But I would assume that it stems from the fact that he was complaining all the time he didn't get to spend time with his kid and that he didn't have enough time to travel. So Steven was like, going forward, if we're going to do this for another couple years, why don't you move your family here? So that issue is off the table.
Egregious.
Well, especially when one's sick and needs their own insurance and might have a job that covers that, and they know it.
Did you feel that was just like a twisting of the knife thing?
Yeah.
That just okay.
I felt it was very personal.
Okay.
I mean, that's why it's like hard to even get into, like, when still seem like a little jovial, because it's like, yeah, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're giving me one contract of like, you have to be here 7 days a week, except for possibly a Saturday every 6. And I would say that. I would go, you said I could leave one Saturday every 6 weeks. And it's like, where does it say that, Dave? And it's like, just because you change the verbiage doesn't mean it doesn't say that.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's had you been, okay, let's look at it this way. Had you been promising him that you're going to move your family to Dallas?
If things had, and that never happened.
If things had you broke up a bit. If
things had worked out.
Okay.
I said that there could be an opportunity for that.
Okay.
And if things it would be in my personal life and whatever, but no, that wasn't, that would have never been my choice.
Well, it's not his business.
No.
Quite literally. It's not like your wife or your kid or whoever, your uncle or your grandpa are helping you, driving you to work or writing skits with you. I've seen some of your kids' comedy skits. They're not funny. Like, his drawing is crap. He tries, but like, okay, not everything.
Better.
Not everything's a knock-knock joke.
He has a hook, Mike.
Yeah, for a hand.
Yeah, there's the. But like with Anthony, I was with Anthony for 3 years.
Yeah.
There was never even a mention.
Yeah,
I mean, when Anthony, people can say whatever the hell they want about him. If there was any issue with my family, it wasn't even with any family member. It wasn't even discussed in a way of like, well, let's talk about that. Can you stay here until 10 p.m. and then maybe take a red eye to the funeral? It was always like, go. Why are you here? Like there was never even a thought in Anthony's head that anything should be more.
Anthony's definitely a real one. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So when did the whole thing with Daily Wire happen, and what was your reaction to that?
That's kind of what happened with me. Was just before the break.
What was the break?
The break was winter break,
Okay.
right after he does his like Santa thing.
Okay.
Where like we went out for a minute and like I was dressed as an elf and I felt a bit degraded. And so I only like I think I we filmed a couple things. Like we had some Visa cards and I was asking people questions, and then I just started handing them to people that didn't speak the language. And then because I figured he'd never show that. So I right before the break, I was in his office and it was me, him, and John, and he had a conversation with me that he wanted to put out my special, and he was mad that I came to him because I had edited the special and I wanted to put it out.
So you filmed it without him in the interim?
I filmed a new one later without him because he wanted this one and I didn't want him to put it out.
The one that became a Prison 10?
Yes. So the original one was in Dallas and I didn't want him to put it out because he just thought it was his.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. This is my life story. I mean, there's stuff in there about, my dad's death, my mom's suicide. Like there's stuff in there that's so personal to me. So it's like, this isn't yours. So he brought me into his office and he said how he wished that he made the amount of money that I did last year and all this other stuff. And
wait,
it was
what? He said that or intimated to that?
Yes.
Wait, he was implying that you made more money than him, or significantly more money than him.
Way more money than him, yeah.
Okay.
And I sat there like, and I believed it for a minute. I was like, I don't know what this guy must be paying these employees or what And I kind of sat there.
They're not cheap.
No, they're not. China's very expensive for the American Patriot
Holy
mug.
crap.
And he told me, you saying that to me, and I kind of sat there like thinking like I mean I did well, but it's like, let's be real here, like it's not like that. And but it was really odd because it was like John was next to me, he's telling me that, like, I wish I made the amount of money
you made closer to fuck me money than fuck you money.
Yes. And I kept thinking, like, it's like you did make 70% of the tour, but somehow that adds into me making more. But and I know I didn't know, but I didn't know even the kind of money that came in. I didn't know the real YouTube thing. I didn't realize.
Nor was it your business, right? That's fair.
No, I never asked. It was none of my business.
Not your business. Yeah, it's his
show.
Yeah.
And look, he created that empire. It's his money. It's his show. I never, and everything that I agreed to. That's the truth. So I never complained because that's what I agreed to.
Right.
So yeah, the only thing I did complain about was like, you said you would promote my shows and you didn't, and that pissed me off. Okay. So but then we were on Christmas break and I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know if we were going to the Daily Wire or staying with the Blaze or whatever this whole controversy is. And then all of a sudden he's there talking about a contract for $50 million. Now he didn't out the Daily Wire. He just said it was a contract for $50 million and said it was somebody. It was pretty obvious who it was, but in his defense, he didn't out them. But then Jeremy came out and outed it too.
Jeremy, the head of this Daily Wire.
Right. And I saw it and I thought $50 million, and I like looked at it.
And he turned down 50 million. Let's be clear. Or up. I think 50 million was the ceiling, but it wasn't starting at 50. But yeah,
yes.
For $50 million, Ben Shapiro can have my foot.
Oh, for 50 million. I couldn't even believe it. But it's also going, it hit me too, though, because that means, what are we worth? That I just sat in an office and was shamed. The timeline met up to back in August that he first got this $50 million offer through my agent that I introduced him to.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Was at the same time that he knew what was going on in my personal life, that he decided to slide me a contract that said you have to do all this when he was being offered $50 million.
Yeah.
People are saying how much it costs to run the studio and everything else. It's like, So the way that I looked at it, I was like,
Challenger.
Yeah, let's not.
It's not cheap, but it's not 50 million. Yeah.
Hell, he's making a ton of money, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve, but it's like at the same time, you knew that you were making a profit and I was working very hard to help you make that profit. And your response was, fuck you. I'm going to take everything from you. And I just kind of was watching that like, is this for real?
Yeah.
And then they came back and said, well, we're going to kind of negotiate where, we come back with something, you come back with something. This isn't a contract. This is an offer sheet. And I listened to both sides and I thought, well, it seems that Jeremy's being very upfront and transparent here because he's pointing out everything. So I listened to a bunch of, different talking heads, but from what I could gather, each side had their points, but I felt that it was more of a stop big con thing seemed a little much.
Yeah.
And it seemed like pushing more of this infighting and this narrative. And if people really have these ideologies that they want to put.
Definitely pushing more infighting for sure. Shout out Lord Reek for getting involved in the comments on Rumble. And Gamer Jam on Twitch says, the rot in our political system is rooted in the rot in our economic system. Capitalism will not allow for real change because political corruption is too damn profitable for the shareholders. I do understand what you're saying, but capitalism is not synonymous with political corruption. That's crony capitalism. So you shouldn't shit on actual capitalism because we don't do capitalism correctly. But you are correct there. You are correct there. Lord Reek says, I watch Louder with Dave. I mean Crowder every now and then. Once Dave was third chair, I watched every morning, Monday through Thursday. Dave is funny and he made the show awesome. I would agree with that statement. I've watched Crowder for a long time. The show did get better when Dave was in third chair. And I don't know if you were on here earlier, but I did go see the Crowder comedy special when they were playing up in Phoenix. And Dave's set was funnier than Crowder's even during their comedy special. So I agree with you on that one.
Push and believe.
I kind of thought that this portion of them talking about the contract was just a small segment of the podcast. I didn't realize it was the whole damn thing, and they just talked about Crowder the whole time. Yeah, I haven't watched much of Crowder since he started back up either, just because I've been kind of busy. But all of this drama has been floating around, and him going after Candace Owens and all that shit. And I have my Crowder mug here on camera, and I put it in all of my videos. So I figured it was time to get down to this to see if we take the Crowder mug down. Because I was on Crowder's side in the beginning. And I have my Leftist Tears mug. So I had them both up there. And then I was on Crowder's team in the beginning. I took my mug down. Or the tumbler or whatever they call it. I took that down, left the Crowder mug up. But I'm thinking now maybe we need to take the fucking Crowder mug down too. Yeah. I thought you were thanking me for chatting. I was like, well, that's weird. It's kind of what I do. But I get you, Amik. He's shouting out the people getting involved on the Rumble chat. We do want you guys involved in the chat, so definitely let me know what your thoughts. Yeah, let me know.
It didn't come off as very true. It just came off as more of what I had experienced, and I just didn't buy it. And I was bothered by it. And then I thought, well, now you have this other company coming in who's paying God knows how much money. You have other companies that want to offer, and people are going, he said it's not about the money, but he just asked for $120 million. So 50 million isn't about the money, and then it's $120 million isn't? And I'm just being honest, going, that seems a little weird. And then for me, watching it, knowing what I had to look at and have to make choices on, and knowing how frustrated I was for pennies.
Yeah.
It was, it bothered me in a lot of ways, where I thought, I can just go and do my own thing. And I was much happier as just a road comic. I don't have to do this. I can just go do something else. It was his choice to rip up my contract, not mine.
Right.
It wasn't my choice for him to do this. So I wanted to go.
Were there any?
I wonder how long. I hope maybe he asked. Malice always has really good questions, but do you think that he had a long time left on his contract? And Crowder ripped it up to try to get him on a new contract with an NDA because he was getting ready to pull his Republican big con fucking thing? Or was his contract going to be up at the end of the year type of deal and they just did it a few months early? I'm curious.
Let me ask this, just to be clear. Were there any terms that were better with this proposed contract than you had already been receiving previously?
No.
Or was it all in the worst direction?
Oh, it was all in the worst direction. I wasn't sure. I was like, do you want to fire me? Like, just fire me.
You're right. It wasn't like the salary was doubled, but at the same time you got to move your family, right? It wasn't like a mix.
Right. No. It was no. It was
a worse offer than you had originally by every metric.
By every metric, except my agent kept telling me, hang in there. I'm telling you, by February, you'll have 350 grand a year.
Okay. Why? How would that happen?
I had no idea because it never did.
But why would it if the contract's for less than?
Because the agent was currently in talks with Crowder, getting him a $50 to $100 million contract somewhere. Yeah, I've had this saved on my watch later for 10 days now to get to it. So that's why we finally designated today. I was doing some editing yesterday and I was looking at this mug over my shoulder and all the videos, going, I need to find out if I should have this fucking mug here or not, or if I look like some fucking schmo. So that's why we're finally getting to this interview today. But I literally thought it was going to be like a 20-minute segment of the interview was about Crowder. And it's been the whole thing. I was surprised by that.
Than that, why would it change by February?
No clue.
If you're not allowed to tour, it doesn't make any sense. Okay.
And I kept saying, but who's offering us? Like, is it the Daily Wire? Is it the Blaze? Is it this? Is it that? And he goes, well, I can't tell you that. It's
but
not.
If he's got you under contract, why would he give you a raise if he goes to the Daily Wire? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, but I just kept being told that, and I said, well, who's making the deal? And he's like, well, I can't tell you. That's Steven's deal. And I said, but I'm on
your agent?
He is my agent, I think.
Okay.
He was,
Okay.
he was. But he's Steven's agent. He makes millions and millions and millions of dollars off of Steven. So,
okay.
I hope I know that their relationship that I connected them with has been very fruitful.
Okay.
And which is fine. I mean, it's odd because why wouldn't you? I'd have no problem with them working together, but why just sneak around and fuck me?
Yeah. Right.
Like, you could have just told me that. I mean, you let me use your platform, I'll let you use my agent to make money.
Right. The only thing that I could think of in that situation, because typically an agent would want to keep both clients happy, even though one's more valuable than the other. You're going to put in more effort and time into the more valuable one, obviously, but you definitely want to keep the lower one happy as well. So the only thing I can think there is Crowder had something to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, look, if you dropping subtle hints type of thing, like, hey, if you want to stay my agent, I need you to, what have you with Dave and whatnot. I don't know. Dave sounds pretty believable here, but it's definitely missing a lot of context. Or not a lot of context, but it's definitely missing Steven's side of it, that's for sure. But even a lot of things Dave said was just kind of weird. Like, why would he have a problem with me being late all the time? I was never late for the show but once. Why would he bring up me falling asleep? That only happened a couple times. You know what I mean? Like, these are like high school excuses. I'm only late every other day. It's not a problem. So that was kind of weird. I mean, I do believe Dave, and it does seem that Crowder can be kind of an asshole. But he's a dude. We're all assholes. So I'm not sure. Right.
But instead, it's like, let's just give Dave nothing.
Right.
And it's odd because so many people have come out because I made a joke on the show where I said, look, I'm all about the money. It's what I do it for. I'm all about the money, which in a joking way is me saying, yes, I work for money.
Side tangent, somebody in Rumble just tatted breaking news. Tucker Carlson stole unbelievable documents from Fox News about JFK and is going to share them publicly tonight. I don't know how much I trust your link you put in the description there, but I'm going to be on the lookout for that info for sure. That'd be interesting.
I don't work for wagon wheels and horseshoes.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was a joke because but so many people I realized are stupid and listen to some ungodly amount of money and go, he said it's not about the money. And that's the truth. And it's like, are you how stupid are you? Of course.
But
it's
here's
about
the other
money.
thing. Let's suppose it's not about the money.
Mhm.
I didn't see anything in those Daily Wire terms that were particularly offensive. They weren't like move your family, change your name. You had to advocate for gun control, or you have to endorse Biden. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think
No.
anything in that contract was at all offensive from what I'd seen of it.
No, I don't think that they did. And that's what my problem was with it. And I don't know anybody at the Daily Wire. The only reason why I know anybody at the Daily Wire is because they were friends with them.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what bothered me about it so much was I was like, why would you do that?
Folks, your welcome is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And let's face it, sometimes multitasking can be overwhelming. Like when your favorite podcast is playing and the person next to you is talking, you buy. Let's get back to the show. How did you find out that he tape records his phone calls?
I heard that he did.
Okay, people in the office talked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had heard that he did and that he'd showed a few other people how to do it.
Okay.
And that's how I knew. But then I really didn't.
Wait, I missed something.
Will provide options from other companies all lined up and ready to compare, so it's simple to choose the rate and coverages you like. Press play on comparing auto rates. Quote at progressive.com to join the over 29 million drivers.
Yeah. Come on,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Let's get back to the show. How did you find out that he tape records his phone calls?
I heard that he did.
Okay, people in the office talked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had heard that he did and that he'd showed a few other people how to do it.
Okay.
And that's how I knew. But then I really didn't care. I mean, there's cameras everywhere, it's
Sure.
like, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, he's in a business where maybe he needs to for whatever protection. I get it. He
could get me too really easily. You know how it works.
I get it. Yes.
Yeah, the whole recording conversations isn't really that weird. All businesses record pretty much all conversations. Yeah, so that's definitely not too weird. I mean, it is weird, but it's normal. It's a normal weird.
So it's like, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal. I did think it was a big deal to play it on the air.
Yeah.
And to call it slave wages when you buy clothing and mugs from slave wage countries where children make shit and you're saying you're a patriot. Like, that bothers me because of the hypocrisy, but is what it is. I guess I'm just...
Wait, does the mug come from China? We're looking, folks. Well, if it does come from China, he was able to get them to make it and not put made in China on it. Because I don't see made in China anywhere on the mug. So we cannot confirm or deny that.
Just being nitpicky at this point, saying something like that. But it bothered me because I would never record my friend and play it on the air.
Right.
And
yeah,
even this is a
on
hard
the air is a
conversation to
different
have
thing
because I want people to just kind of get a vague idea of why I left. So at that point, I honestly had no idea about any of this big con stuff. So if anybody thought it was a pre-planned thing, I can't say that. I don't know that to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's various timelines, but I just saw it as these two things going on. And I called up Gerald, and I like Gerald a lot. And I said, Jeremy Boring's talking about a $50 million.
Oh, you say the made in China thing would have been... I don't think it came in a box. Like the cup, it's obviously the package came in a box. I don't think the cup itself came in a box. I think it just came inside a box, like with it's not newspaper. It's like that thick brown paper stuffed in the package. Yeah, but recording the phone calls is normal. Pretty much everybody does it. At my previous job, I had an insurance agency. All the calls were recorded there by corporate. Plus, I had my own system where I could have recorded calls. I didn't. But yeah, it's definitely not weird.
Thing, like I kind of saw Crowder talking about it, but now I'm watching this rebuttal. I don't understand, and I was furious, to be honest. And then when he came back with the other thing, I was like, don't play that.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of furious with a lot of people with the infighting. I guess everything runs on hypocrisy and drama. That's the lubricant of our society. But it was all this infighting, going at each other, saying of who was right and who was wrong. And I thought it was very clear who was right and who was wrong. It was playing a private conversation. It shouldn't have been done. That's my honest opinion.
I would agree with
so
that.
I was going to go back onto the show. I was getting paid. I sent in a few things, but I did have jury duty on a day, and I just couldn't. I called and I quit. I said I couldn't do it.
How'd you say it? Were you nice about it?
I said, yeah. I go, I'm just saying I don't want to do it anymore. It's not for me. You guys had terminated my contract back in August. And then I followed up with a text because I learned the last time I quit a job to make sure everything. This is the conversation we just had.
Yes.
To let you know.
Memorialize it. Yes. That's good advice to everyone listening. Yes.
Yes. And then he called me a couple days later and said, would you come in and do a farewell episode or something these 2 days?
Oh, you know what? Let me tell a story because this is something germane.
Sure.
Which I hadn't told. It's very briefly. I had the first draft due for the new right, like the book, and Charlottesville was coming up, and I told my editor, "Listen, this is going to be the perfect last chapter. I'm going to go to this thing, not even knowing it was going to be a huge thing. I thought I was going to interview all these guys. We're driving there on a Friday, and that was the first night. That's when they had that march, and it was on CNN. I'm like, okay, this is going to be, what are we getting ourselves into? And I was a little scared, to be honest. And put it together. I called my editor, excuse me. I had this conversation with him. He goes, okay, that sounds great. And then I think a week or a couple weeks later, he puts in writing, your book's officially late, blah, 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 blah. And when I confronted him about that phone call, he goes, oh, well, I don't remember saying that. So people who are listening to this, you'll be surprised by how comfortable people in power and corporations will lie or not care to your face. So if you have an important phone call where something that affects a project has been changed or codified, email them and have it in writing. There's no downside, and there might be a major upside. Learn from me and Dave.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to record the conversation. I keep kicking this. Hold on. I got a little AC system under my desk. It's not plugged in currently, but I keep kicking it. It's got water in it, and I don't want it to kick it over. There's electrical shit down there. That might be enjoyable for you guys to watch me get electrocuted on stream, but I'm going to try to avoid that. But he is correct. If you're making any big moves like that, definitely document it somehow. You don't have to record the conversation, but following it up with a text. Hey, I want to confirm what we talked about, yada, 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 get it in writing. That's definitely good advice.
Okay, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah. So I said I would, I'm like, you know what? I could come back. I do have to do jury duty that Monday, which I guess you can get out of, but I stupidly had already filled out a form. But I was also bothered because I had to reshoot my special. I had shot Normal World.
Why'd you have to reshoot your special?
Because he wanted to put out the version that he wanted from Dallas, and I didn't want that out. It was tainted for me. It was just a bad memory, and that's as simple as that. So I reshot my special, and then I had put out Normal World, and that came down to, I was told that it's if I didn't say that was originally supposed to be a pitch for Steven, they would fire the 3 employees that were in it at the time.
Wow.
And that that was my choice. So 3 people were on the
say this? For you to say publicly.
They said, yeah, that they had to basically come up with a statement and say that it was originally a pitch for Steven, so he could kind of own it. And that they wanted me to like take it down off of YouTube, and my agent said, take it down, I'll get it sold. And they would fire 3 people if I didn't take it down.
You were told this on the phone or in writing?
On the phone.
That your colleagues would be fired if you don't do this. You were threatened as hostage. They're basically hostages, right?
Yeah, and I saved plenty of texts, okay. But it was just a matter of, I was like, okay, but it was never for him. He could have gotten it though. He could have had the option to use it onto a new network. But I started making it because some of my sketches just weren't to the taste of that show, and I wanted to do something as a side project. Little too much cum references, especially the demon molesters, just far too much cum. And but truthfully, it was my own project because it's a surreal dystopian nightmare that's not necessarily right or left wing. It's not anything. It's just it's sort of just shining a light on everything in our society.
Okay.
And it's a different thing than what his show is. It was created very much separately, So that was another thing where I kept thinking, well, you never retweeted my special even to acknowledge it existed, even though I had retweeted a few things, in his favor with the Daily Wire thing, even though I don't know if I should have.
Okay.
And I still backed him up. I didn't go against him or anything. I was like, okay, well, this is fine. I mean, I didn't put it out there. And in that moment, people were like, you should put up the contracts you have. Bury him right now. And I thought, no, there's people who work there that have families, and I care about the people who work there, and I'm not interested in taking down his show. I'm just interested in leaving.
Yes. Okay.
So I told them,
okay,
look, I can come in and do kind of a farewell show, a couple shows. It got closer. They said I had to do the jury duty. I was going to go in on Monday. That was a huge problem for them. They were furious.
You're not allowed to have a problem at work if you have jury duty. I say this as an anarchist. Like you can. That's like they're really big on this. You can't you can't get fired or have consequences if you get jury duty. Even if you're on that jury for 6 months in some of these impaneled juries, you have to have your job when you get back. This is very known.
Yeah, and I was in LA and I was flying back to Dallas, but then I was just like, what are you gonna do? Fly back to Detroit? I was like, yeah. Is that
I have to, yeah.
What is that, magic? So that's what I did, and then I didn't get called in, but I had to be there.
Yes.
That was that simple. So it's what I had to do. It's what I did, and then I did offer to come in, but then it was sort of being ghosted, and I've had to deal with a few things with medication. I know I've had my own issues with mental health. It is what it is. But I have tried to be like, look, we can figure this out, whatever it is. But it's just come down to, and I would want to say, if you're a fan of the show, watch the show. Nick DiPaolo is absolutely hilarious. I think it's great they have him on. I like Brian Callen a lot. I think it's great. I don't want to be compared to other people that are being brought in. I think it's a good show. That's the part that I don't want to go against. I just want to say.
I just did Brian Callen's show.
Did you?
And Brian was of the belief that the Second Amendment, well-regulated militia, means the government gets to regulate gun ownership. And I just yelled at him for 10 minutes straight. I don't know when that drops, and he appreciated being clowned because it was coming from an informed place. I really like Brian a lot.
He's a great guy.
And Nick's hilarious. I don't know him, but I like his.
He's one of the. Nick
DiPaolo is one of the funniest people.
And I genuinely mean that. And
he is one of the funniest.
So there's no part of me that wants to see any ship like that sink.
Yeah,
there's just the part of me that goes, for whatever reason, he and I had this tension that I think was especially custom to me because he saw me and him as very similar. And at that point, I just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I don't know why he is like this with some co-hosts. I know he has a track record, and I just have to leave. That's why I'm leaving. And I do sincerely wish him the best. I wish that show the best. But for anybody who's watching,
there's definitely some history there, though, with Crowder, because I don't know if Quarter Black Garrett ever came out and spoke about anything. I think he's covered under an NDA, as well as, what was the original guy when I first started watching? Not Gay Jarrett. There was also some issue when they let him go. So it does seem to be a pattern with old Crowder, not ending employment business relationships very well. So there's definitely seems to be a little bit of a pattern.
I'm going to do my own thing. I really hope he respects that, and I
the easiest microscope that I have ever used.
Respect him, but it's like, it's done. I cannot be part of that anymore after, how I was treated. And I'm happy to go. I just don't want to do it. Done.
Wasn't there some miscommunication about your last days on the show publicly?
Yes.
Can we talk about that briefly?
Yes. Well, it was the jury duty thing. Wasn't that the...
Well, didn't they say you're coming back?
They did say I was coming back because I did say I would come back and do those days as long as I didn't have to go back for that reason.
Okay.
And they sent me an NDA to sign and with a money amount. I turned it down. I said, I'm not going to sign an NDA. That goes against everything that your show stands for.
Yeah. Non-disclosure agreement, people who don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yes. He sent me a gift to help for getting him to Rumble. No strings attached. Very nice. But I said
cash gift or a physical gift?
Cash. It was
okay.
Cash. But it was still something which I appreciate, it was nice. But after that, it's like, it's just done that I was not going to sign anything. I was not going to say that I'm not going to ever defend myself or say there was a reason that I didn't leave or take, or just say that, I deserved it. Or the reality was in the last year, I was treated in a way that I did not deserve to be treated. And regardless of any amount of money that people think or thought that I made, it was not worth it. And I appreciate every fan that came out to every show. And I really do appreciate deeply the fan base that Steven got me. But it just, by the end of it, the gaslighting and I'm glad to be done. And that's about it, and the confusion came to a lot of people that called them a liar about jury duty. Steven wasn't lying. That was the truth. It's just, they didn't have me back on after that because they were very upset that I chose jury duty, but that was how it worked. And then I think he felt embarrassed that I didn't show up after he said I'd show.
They didn't have you back on because you refused to sign the NDA, and they didn't want to risk you on their live show saying something that they didn't want. Yeah, he was an employee on a contract, acted like he was the show. I don't know if Dave acted like he was the show, but he definitely acted like the show needed to bend around what else he was doing, and the fact that his family lived somewhere else, and the fact that he wanted to do a, stand-up comedy, and I don't know why Steven's business needs to bend or mold to any of that stuff. And what did he say about Steven giving him a cash check for going over to Rumble? Like, let me back that up. I didn't understand that part.
Back because I did say I would come back and do those days as long as I didn't have to go back for that reason.
Okay.
And they sent me an NDA to sign and with a money amount. I turned it down. I said, I'm not going to sign an NDA. That goes against everything that your show stands for.
Yeah. Non-disclosure agreement, people who don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yes. He sent me a gift to help for getting him to Rumble. No strings attached.
He sent me a gift for help getting him to Rumble? What the fuck does that mean? Why would he need Dave Landau's help to post his shit on Rumble when they had been on Rumble the entire time? He did half of his show. That's weird. Yeah, that part's weird to me. I don't get that.
Very nice. But I said
gift or a physical gift?
Cash. It was
okay.
Cash. But it was still something where, and which I appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. He just said he sent me a cash gift because I helped him get on Rumble. And I was like, what? What the fuck you mean you helped Steven Crowder get on Rumble? He's been on Rumble forever.
You know, it was nice. But after that, it's like, it's just done. That I was not going to sign anything. I was not going to say that I'm not going to ever defend myself or say there was a reason that I didn't leave or take, or just say that, you know, I deserved it. Or the reality was in the last year, I was treated in a way that I did not deserve to be treated. And regardless of any amount of money that people think or thought that I made.
The centrist gremlin, very funny, was getting in trouble on YouTube every time, though. They were losing money from it. I don't think that's actually true. From my understanding, they had been demonetized on YouTube for quite a while. I think shortly they were remonetized by some error somebody made at YouTube. But I don't think they were monetized on YouTube. So I don't think that was his whole dust up with the Daily Wire. That was his whole issue with their contract, is because they were going to notch his pay if he lost monetization on YouTube. And his whole thing is, well, we don't count on monetization from YouTube because we don't get it. They ban us and block us and yada, 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 yada. Yeah, but Dave did just say he helped Steven get the Rumble contract, and I'm not sure how. You know what I mean? Like, how? That doesn't make any sense at all.
It was not worth it. And I appreciate every fan that came out to every show, and I really do appreciate deeply the fan base that Steven got me, but it just, by the end of it, the gaslighting and I'm glad to be done, and that's about it, you know. And the confusion came to a lot of people that called them a liar about jury duty. Steven wasn't lying. That was the truth. It's just they didn't have me back on after that because they were very upset that I chose jury duty. But sorry.
They didn't have you on, you wouldn't sign the NDA.
Then I think he felt embarrassed that I didn't show up after he said I'd show up. And that is pretty much how I got ghosted or whatever this thing's been. But I don't want to ignore the fans anymore. And every day I get, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? I'm not. So.
When was the last time you spoke with him?
Maybe 2 months ago, a month and a half.
What was that conversation like?
He texted me and said, I'm glad you're going to come back to do a show. I said, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And he said, I have your Christmas present in my garage. And I was like, okay, don't, what do you say? He said, it's very heavy. I said, I hope it's a panda. He said, I don't trust animals that don't fuck. And I said something like, I'll fuck it. And that was it. And that way, I think that was the last time we spoke.
What would you say to him if you saw him if you're in a room with him right now?
Sorry that it didn't work out. I think we actually made a really good team.
Okay. Are you expecting him to call you screaming and flipping his shit?
No, I'm expecting him more or less to martyr it or ignore it.
Okay. Let's end on a positive note. Okay.
Deal.
Talk a little bit more. Tell us more about what plans you have for your show on the Blaze. I'm really glad that this happened and you landed at such an awesome place.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me talk about it, because there's very few people I would really want to bring this up to. And I'm very happy about it. It's me, Quarter Black, and a few other people that have been working together. My friend Ken.
That's definitely one thing that's very interesting. Is that his new show is with Quarter Black, which is also a disgruntled former employee of Steven. And apparently they had been working on the show for a while. The first episode of the show is already out. And if you guys want, when we finish up with here, I got to take a short break. I got to go yak at my wife for a minute. She's been texting me. I got to go figure out what's going on there. But if you guys want, We'll take a short break when this is done, and then if you guys want to stick around, we'll watch Landau's first episode with Quarter Black and see if his new show is any good. I'd be interested.
As well as Matt McClowery, who and Bryce, who put together.
Is Matt like moving to Dallas? Are you guys filming in Dallas?
He is going to be doing writing from Florida for the Blaze.
Okay.
And I will fly him out, of course, to be in sketches and that sort of thing. But we will be.
How can someone who has no human emotion act in a sketch?
It will be difficult. Well,
is he going to be playing Lurch in every episode?
Yes. Well, now that he has a daughter, I think he's dextering it a bit, where he's pretending to be human. It's something. So I think he acts every day. It's so weird. Like he actually, I've never seen him love anything for real.
Okay.
Like he can actually hold.
No, Quarter Black and Landau have a new show that they just started. I think only the first episode is out. This is what Landau is doing, now. So Landau got signed with Blaze, which kicked Crowder out. So they kicked Crowder out, and they re-signed Dave and Quarter Black on a show over at the Blaze. But it's on YouTube also, from my understanding, because I have it saved in my watch later list. So yeah, so Quarter Black, who's absolutely hilarious, and Dave Landau have a new show together. So if you guys want to stick around, let me know, and we'll watch the first episode of that too.
Hold something without killing it. It's astonishing.
Yeah, that's the same thing. We don't know what happened to Quarter Black. I have heard him say that he's on an NDA and can't talk about it. Same thing with Not So Gay Jared, or That's Gay Jared, or Super Gay Jared, or whatever his name was. Blair White was right about Candace. She can be a real bee. She did go hard at Crowder. She definitely did go hard at Crowder. But in Candace's defense, Crowder did put her name in his mouth first. And everybody know Candace will go off. So you were kind of asking for it there.
Knock on wood.
I know, right? That's true. I shouldn't put the cart before the horse. The hearse. Yeah, he's such a precise writer, which is what I love about him, and it's because of the goofballness.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bit of it's going to obviously have a political edge to it because everything does now. I think it's almost impossible not to,
and especially the Blaze.
Yeah, of course. But we will have more of a pop culture side to it, doing a few fresher things that they're not doing, and also working in other people at the Blaze to be in sketches that we've already started to do.
Can you promise me to keep the Dylan Mulvaney references to an absolute minimum?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we did write one sketch about it that we're going to film, but it's more or less making fun of the people in the bar who are on opposing sides.
Okay.
Like so, I want to always find the angle that isn't making fun of the exact thing.
Well, you can make, but there's no the exact thing. I'm so sick of this person and the outrage. It's so WWF to me, like both from Bud Light, and it's just like, that you're giving oxygen to something that's a symptom of a far broader problem.
Yeah, that's facts.
Dylan Mulvaney's like Cindy Sheehan and Khizr Khan, the guy who held up the Constitution at Hillary Clinton's convention. They're all disposable. Greta Thunberg is going to age out, and you're going to pretend she never existed. It's all symptomatic of a broader issue, and if you're just going after the pawns, you're missing out on the king and the queen and the rooks.
Well, it's like the trans and sports thing. I mean, my take on it was, if I was to compete as a woman, it would just make no difference whatsoever. They'd be like, "Who's that fat girl? I think she has emphysema.
Is that
her balls? Like her balls are hanging out of her bathing suit." So it becomes a joke on me. Yeah. And then I have people commenting that are trans, like, this is a very funny approach, actually, because I genuinely want you to laugh at it. I don't want you to be offended.
When is I remind people, when are you aiming for the first episode to air?
Hopefully end of May, beginning of June.
And how often is it going to be airing?
3 days a week.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of content.
Is what we're shooting
that's really terrific. Sarah is a great sport. And she's here, I'm going to tell a secret. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble. you can guess when someone who looks like that and is funny, she was a big girl in high school.
So the Citrus Gremlin on Rumble says the 2023 question is, so is Steven Crowder gay, a bi man, or in denial? That's pretty funny, bro. That's pretty funny.
Sorry, Sarah, I'm
Was
outing
she?
you. You can't look like that and be that funny and that like thick-skinned unless you grew up not looking like that.
Oh, that's
As a
true.
female, it's just you could have
Yeah.
guessed that. And she's a great sport. She really has good comic instincts, very smart. So you can mine that copper mine. There's a lot of great material there. Chad's also surprisingly funny. Stu is the hidden gem at that network. He really does the perfect straight man. Like, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy.
We actually just used Chad and Sarah in a skit that we did. We had to do a Bud Light one and define it just fun.
Yeah.
And those were the two we used because we needed somebody to play the idiot college girl who came up with the whole campaign.
Yeah.
And she nailed it.
She's really, really, I'm such a fan of hers. We're good friends, and it's wonderful here. Okay, Dave, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
I think it would have to be your chair.
I own you.
He's just gonna finish with "I own you." That is definitely very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I was actually planning on getting into some more content around this subject. I didn't think this Michael Malice interview was going to be the whole entire thing about Crowder. I thought it was going to be like a 20-minute section of the speech or of the interview. And then we were going to go off. I had a bunch of other videos on the topic to go over some other points of view and what's not. I was thinking about diving into Candace's whole thing too, which is kind of a side issue, but still involving Crowder. But that definitely took the whole day. I appreciate you guys stopping by for that. If you're on the live, we are going to keep going after a short break. But if you're here for just this video, I appreciate it. Links down in the description if you want to help support the channel. ShopMcClures.com is the website you can visit. YouTube won't pay me anything, so we're relying on you guys to dig in your cushions and throw me some change or whatnot. Links in the description if you want to support, or ShopMcClures.com is a website I created that sells American-made products. So if you want to support the country, anything that you buy off there will help American families. And it also helps keep me going. So I appreciate it. Later, bye.